Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to another live stream. Now, hello to everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone had a great weekend. And hello, Kirtan. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Singapore, what a place. Definitely a place on my bucket list to go and visit. But yeah, welcome to the live stream. And yeah, if there's any pairs you guys are looking at, any different currencies you're interested in trading, or you currently in a trade that you want to share and you want my opinion on, just drop it in the comments below. Drop it in the live chat and I'll make sure I'll take a look at it together and see what's happening with the pairs and currencies today. So we'll start with GP pound USD. Okay, so for this pair, it's looking good for potential move to the downside. This one, if I just clear the chart, start fresh. So yeah, for pound USD, it's looking good for sales. So again, another pair that is good for some short-term sales. I think throughout the midweek, really back down to around 1.37, really key area of support that we had a bit of a false break last week, and I think we could be coming back down to that same area. And we also do have this nice bearish trend line here. If I just zoom out here on the 4H, you can see if I connect these three major highs, or two major highs, but then price came to test it again a third time this morning. You can see we come to test it again, and a really nice bearish engulfing candle there in the 4H. So I do think for pound USD, I'm not saying we're going to have like another complete bearish leg down to these lows and some new lows again, just because we've had such a bullish reaction recently. So I think for pound USD, we can see some downside back down to that support that we had the false break of on the daily. But if we can get underneath that, then yes, I think pound USD probably is going back to some new lows. But I think some more downside for this pair to around the 1.37 area. Again, quite a big bearish candle there on the 4H. So maybe some retracement on the lower time frames. You can see hourly and really nice shift in momentum. Pretty much picked off late this morning, and as you can see, price is looking quite bearish now. So I think for this one, that bit of retracement to the upside, I think we've come into a bit of a trend line here. So hence why prices had a bit of a pullback, stalling a little bit, so we might see some upside, but yeah, a break of that trend line, maybe a retest of that, maybe a retest of the larger trend line. I think there could be some really nice opportunity to short pound USD to the downside and see some more downside for this pair. Hey Chia, how are you doing? Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome back to the live stream. Selling USD CAD. Let's take a look at USD CAD. Okay, so USD CAD. Okay, so for this pair on my weekly analysis, I'm expecting to see a move to the downside to around the 1.24500 mark. Again, as long as price stays below that 1.26 resistance, kind of this area here, I'm expecting more downside. I did say come and test this level here, then more upside. As of just yet, well, so far this week, Monday, so far on Tuesday, USD CAD is moving a little bit sideways, so it's a little bit choppy. I can still see price breaking to the downside, but for now it's just a little bit dodgy because price is moving sideways. So technically anything can happen in this scenario. Again, coming into the week, I was biased to the downside for USD CAD. Now I'm a little bit on the sidelines just because of how it's moving. Yesterday I thought price was just going to break to the downside there and just continue, but it's found some support and continue back to the upside. So I'm still in that range for USD CAD. We do have resistance around this area here and support around there. It just depends what area, what level price wants to break first. Whether it wants to go break through that resistance or break through that support. I think if it does break through the resistance, it could come back in. So a bit of a liquidity grab there, I think, could happen, and then we can see some downside. But as of right now, I'm pretty sure US dollar is quite strong. So USD CAD is finding some strength to the upside with that US dollar strength. But yeah, I do agree, shorts to the USD CAD to the downside, but because of how it's moving now, yeah, I'm a little bit on the sidelines with this pair if you're not already trading it. But because we had that nice bearish candle there on the weekly, really nice bearish candle, nice wick to the upside, big long wick. Normally wicks like that, we do normally see a nice move in the opposite direction. So I'm expecting to see that gap there on the weekly fill to the downside. But of course, you do need to stay below this level, because if it does go and break with this current week, then we could actually see more upside there for USD CAD. So I'm expecting downside for this pair. But yeah, like I said, it's just moving a little bit funny. So not too sure what it wants to do, but we'll find out probably later today if it actually does break through that resistance, or if it does come straight back down. And if it breaks through that support, then I think it's all guns blazing to the downside there. GJ will take a look at pound JPY. Okay, so pound JPY for this pair, I'm actually expecting to see a move to the downside for this one. On my weekly analysis, price came into a nice area of a trend line and also some prior resistance. So I'm actually expecting to see a move back down into the 151 area. Then if you can break through that, back down to the 149,500. But as you can see, if I zoom out for this pair, you can see we have this nice trend line here, first, second, third. We poked ahead above the trend line there, but essentially it's the fourth test, and we also do have a really nice area of support resistance, 152,500, really key area, support resistance, collapse to the downside, and we came up to test that area again. So, and we see a nice shift in that momentum from the bulls to the bears this morning. So I think, especially with that momentum, if that does stay intact and we stay below that trend line, I can see a push back down into this area here. So I think GJ is good for buys, but for me it's a little bit too early. I think around this area here, will be a little bit more enticing for me to buy GJ for now. Here, not interested in selling it right now. Probably want to see a bit of retracement to take that down, just for risk reward reasons. But I do see more downside for GJ into this area here. Then maybe see some upside if we can hold it, or potentially from that area, because we did see quite an aggressive pullback for GJ last week. As you can see, really nice dump to the downside, and now we're pulling back all the way up there. So it's quite an aggressive pullback, hinting that we might not be moving down to the downside anymore, and we actually might be moving to the upside and start continue that long bullish trend that we've seen for GJ for the past few months now. So that could definitely be in play. But yeah, I'm just going to play it by ear for this one, because right now, coming to that trend line, coming to that resistance, we're looking bearish there. So I'm expecting more downside, and we'll see what happens at the kind of those two areas of support. So that's my kind of thinking behind GJ there. But like I said, looking quite bearish there. So probably want to see some retracement in the lower time frames, and then some more downside. But yeah, I really don't want to go against that momentum there on GJ on the 4-hour candle. But you never know, we could hold that support and just continue to the upside. But yeah, from what I'm looking at, it looks like GJ wants to move down a bit more before we see some upside. Hello Rex, how are you doing? Hello John, how are you doing? Welcome to the live stream. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. If you guys look at any different pairs, any different charts, just let us know. Drop it down in the chat and we'll take a look at it and see what's going on with those pairs. But welcome back to the live stream, guys. Happy to have you guys back. Next, if we take a look at Euro USD. So for this pair, again, similar movement to be seen for a lot of the USD pairs this morning. Obviously, we've seen a lot of USD strength coming to the markets this morning. And as you can see, we were looking at quite a bullish US dollar yesterday, and then that's kind of flipped today. Of course, we still got most of today left. We could flip bullish again. But again, we do have to take into account this market is still very bearish here. Well, not very bearish, it's a little bit choppy. You can see the pullbacks are quite aggressive, so it's not strong. bearish trend, but you know, we are still making lower lows and lower highs, hence why I do have that bearish bias for Euro USD. I did say a bit of a pullback for this pair and we might see some downside. Excuse me. Sorry. Come on, voice, work. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so I was saying for Euro USD, overall bias is to the downside for this one. Again, the pair is a little bit choppy. There's some other pairs that I'm favoring a little bit better than Euro USD just because how it's moving. But Euro USD is still bearish, and again, we still do have this key level 1.18500. As long as we stay below that, I'm still seeing more downside for Euro USD. We do have that daily target 1.17, sorry. On the daily, you can see really nice area of support there, massive move to the upside, and I think price is coming back down to test this area. We might push below it, but I think price is coming back down to test that area, and it's doing that very, very slowly. So I can still see more downside for Euro USD. We do have that key support 1.17600. That price is still failing to break through, so it's probably not the best pair to sell where it is right now. We probably want to see price retrace a little bit more, maybe even back up to here and then sell it down just for that risk to reward reasons, because selling right now is selling to a very strong area of support. Even though the market is bearish, I wouldn't sell into that support just because we had about 6, 7, 8 times of trying to break through that area and still we failed to break through that same area of support. So definitely not a wise place to sell into, but overall Euro USD I think is still bearish unless we take out this resistance here. If we take out our resistance, then I'll probably change my bias for Euro USD and probably see a lot more upside for that pair. If I take a look at the DXY, which is kind of the inverse of Euro USD, you can see for this one we are looking like we are pushing to the downside there a little bit, but we still do have this trend line intact. So if I draw it in now, so again connecting these major lows with those wicks, we still do have this trend line intact there. So for the DXY, as long as we respect this trend line, which so far we are, but we could obviously break through it in some mad bearish candle later on, but as of yet we're still holding that trend line. So if you do still hold this trend line for the DXY, we should see another push to the upside, back to highs. If that's the case, then DXY back to highs, that should send Euro USD back to lows and back to some new lows as well probably. And again, if that does happen, pound USD should be coming down, AUD USD should be coming down, USD CAD should be going up actually, USD CHF going up. So again, DXY does determine a lot of factors here, so definitely a pair that you guys should take a look at once in a while, just to see what the pair is doing, because you know, if it correlates really well with Euro USD, you know, it can really benefit you on making decisions. So yeah, DXY overall still is in the bullish trend. If I go on the daily time frame, see the trend a little bit better. So you know, price is pushing to the upside here. For the DXY, we have resistance all the way up there, which I feel like price might be heading to, but because of how choppy price is moving, it might not just reach there, and it might take a dive before it gets there. But yeah, so far it's slowly heading that way. And again, I said, as long as price stays above that trend line, I'm seeing more upside breaks for it, then yeah, we're probably changing our bias for the DXY, because we could see a lot more downside for this pair. So yeah, DXY currently moving a little bit of a channel right now. Again, I can connect the highs with that upper trend line there as well. So very, very choppy price action for the DXY, slowly pushing to the upside. I think as long as we stay in that channel, Euro USD should be coming down. Euro USD should be coming down, but like I said, coming into that support, not a wise place to look to sell the pair. USD CHF for this pair, we've had quite a move to the downside here for this one, well, from last week and coming into this week as well. So USD CHF looking quite bearish here. I think we can see some more downside for this pair. If I go on the daily time frame, take a look at the candlesticks, you can see we've had quite a nice area of resistance here. that price was failing to break through. Then we had a bit of a false break, as you can see, and closed above. The next day closed straight back below, still failing to break through it. And then yesterday we had some nice momentum to the downside. So I'm favouring more downside for USD CHF, which again does go against the DXY a little bit. But if we do see CHF strength, we could still see that move to the downside. Again, looking at this on the daily time frame, momentum for USD CHF on the daily time frame is to the downside. I definitely do not want to go against that. So I'm expecting more downside for USD CHF. Another push back into 0.9400. I think if I go in the hourly time frame for this pair, I think we could be warming up for that move to the downside. So USD CHF is definitely a pair on my watch list. I think we can be in for a really nice move to the downside there. This looks like it's coming back to that area of support there, price support, now term resistance. So if that does stay intact, I can see a move into that support. Again, I'm not going to be too aggressive with this position for USD CHF because it doesn't completely correlate with the DXY. So I don't really want to try and go in the DXY too much. But then yet again, like I said, for the DXY, one bearish candle can just go and break through that trend line and just change the whole bias. Of course, if it's not a false breakout. And if that's the case, then USD could go a lot further. So playing a bit safe with USD CHF, not aiming for these lows down there or 0.9, 0.91, which I was doing a few weeks ago now. And I was selling Euro USD back here, USD CHF, sorry. Back there I was looking for 0.91, but again, as you can see, didn't quite make that. We had quite an aggressive push to the upside after that. So looking for another test of that support, which I think is likely. But yeah, want to see another shift in momentum on the hourly time frame for me to get involved. We've seen some nice wicks there with this candle and the second candle, nice wick as well. So I want to see that shift in momentum, and I think we could be on some nice short-term sells to the downside for USD CHF there. Yeah, so USD CHF is on my watch list for some sells. I think that's mainly the pair that I'll be focusing on. I mean, I'll go through some of the pairs today during the live stream. So if there's any pairs that I might have my eye on, I'll let you guys know. But so far, USD CHF is my main pair that I'm focusing on. Yeah, sure. I'll take a look at AUD USD now. So AUD USD. Okay, so for this pair, let me just zoom out into a high time frame. Okay, so for this pair, we did see quite a nice dip in price last week. Really nice move to the downside. We found support around the 0.73 mark. We pushed to the upside, and then we started to consolidate a little bit for AUD. On my weekly analysis, I did say I want to see price push up a little bit higher back to this zone here, which is just price support, term resistance. So it's just a simple break and retest and then come down. However, we have found resistance just before that, and the market is still failing to break through that same area. So in my opinion, AUD is looking bearish here, especially consolidating, breaking to the downside, coming back up and still showing that shift of momentum. So I'm expecting to see AUD back at this support, back at 0.73. If we can take out this support there that I just drew with that line. I do think we'll probably do it anyway though. It's just that the market is holding onto that support there quite well, so it could well find strength there and just continue to the upside and maybe even continue a little bit of a range. But AUD for me, with that bearish candle there, is looking quite bearish. So I'm expecting to see the market pull back up a little bit, but then continue to the downside, back down to 0.73. If the DXY starts to break through its trend line that I drew just before, then it actually might mean that AUD is coming to that zone that I said on my weekly analysis. So if I was you, keep an eye on the DXY if you're looking at trading any dollar pairs this week today. Keep an eye on the DXY, because the DXY is kind of trading on a fine line between staying bullish or turning bearish, and then that will kind of determine our bias for these pairs. We also do have some dollar news coming out in about 3 hours time or so. So again, guys, if you're looking at trading any USD pairs, do be aware of that. I'm pretty sure some high impact news, so it could have an effect on the charts and see some nice volatility come in. Yeah, so yeah, do be aware of that if you're looking at trading any USD pairs as well. But yeah, for AUDUSD, I think for this one, my bias is to the downside as long as we stay below that resistance. Break through that resistance, we're probably coming into this zone here, which is around 0.74200, and then yeah, monitor price action around there. Either sells, or if you do break out, could be some nice buys from that area. Hey Will, what you saying, Will? Hope you're doing good. Well, William Alderson, hope you're doing good, and William Sipes, hope you're doing well as well. With a 10-foot pull. Yeah, the markets are quite excited this week, to be fair, especially with news announcements coming out later as well. We should see more of that excitement continue. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely the benefit of trading higher time frames. Normally you do miss out on the noise and all the unnecessary movements in the markets. So yeah, definitely one of the pros of trading the higher time frames. And yeah, guys, definitely watch out for that news announcement later on for USD if you're looking at trading any of those pairs. But yeah, we have seen some nice strength in the yen and in the USD this morning. So as you can see, really nice aggressive move to the downside there for CAD JPY. Again, our bias is still to the downside for this pair, and is to the downside for pretty much every JPY pair, pretty much AD JPY, NZD JPY, CHF JPY, Euro JPY, apart from USD JPY. Our bias is pretty much to the downside for those pairs. Simply because we've had quite healthy pullbacks, a little bit aggressive pullbacks though, but healthy pullbacks. And as you can see, if I zoom out onto the daily, you can see we've pushed back into this area. And also, if I just take this zone across, you can see we've tapped into a very nice area of resistance here. So 1, 2, nice collapse to the downside, and just poked our heads into that same area. So I'm expecting to see a push to the downside for CAD JPY. If we're lucky, we can see a push all the way down to 86, but I'm not too sure about that, simply just because of how aggressive this bullish push was to the upside. It might come down around halfway and then turn around. But yeah, we're coming into a really key zone, 88 for CAD JPY. Prior resistance across there was acting as support there, really nice push to the upside, and now it is turn resistance. So I'm seeing CAD JPY moving to the downside, and again, like I said, if we're lucky, I think 86 does look good. So I think I'll probably add CAD JPY to my list just because of the mileage on that. The risk reward does seem really, really good. And if we can get like another break and retest of this trend line, that would be great. Come back, retest that as resistance. And then if we do reject that, I think 86 does look good. But we might stop at this zone just beforehand because price did see quite a shift in momentum there. You can see really nice push to the upside. So we stalled slightly and then had a massive explosive push to the upside. So strong area of demand there. You do have to take note of around 86, 800. But like I said, if we can see a push down to 86 just to fill that range in, that would be great. But again, great shift of momentum to the downside there on the 4H. And on the hourly, if we can see a little bit retracement, a retrace to go and retest that trend line there as support. So if I just redraw that a little bit better, retest that trend line, something like that. Nice wick rejections, some lower high formations. I think yeah, some nice shorts to the downside for CAD JPY does look quite good this morning. Yeah, sure, I'll take a look at GJ for you right now. Okay, so we looked at GJ earlier and we're expecting to see a little bit of a dive to the downside for this pair. simply because of where we are in the market and also the shift in momentum we've just seen this morning. You can see, if I just zoom out for you guys a little bit, we do have this bearish trend line here intact. Well, it did break a little bit this morning, but it's back below, so we're still treating that as intact. You can see a really nice area of resistance there with the trend line, second time, third time, and with that false break, a fourth time as well. So overall, GJ is still bearish for me, and I still do see another push to the downside. The market is trending to the downside, making lower lows, lower highs. And I think as long as we stay below 153,500, the market is still classified as a bearish on the higher time frames. We've recently seen quite an aggressive push to the upside though for GJ, so the bearish trend might not continue completely because the market is giving us signs that we're having such aggressive pullbacks. You can see last week we had this massive push to the upside, very aggressive pullback, and again this week another aggressive pullback. So I'm not expecting GJ to come back to these lows all the way down there. We well could do that, but I'm not expecting that from GJ. From now I'm expecting a push into this area for GJ around 151. So, you know, price support there, just taking across, support there as well. We've come into this area, nice support, resistance, and also tapped into that trend line there as well. Slightly poked our head above it, and now we're back below with that nice bearish engulfing candle there on the 4 hours. So I'm expecting a bit of retracement just because it's quite a big candle on the lower time frames, but I'm expecting to see more downside for GJ back into this area. If we do get back above that trend line and back above this resistance here, then we might be seeing a price push to the upside for GJ back into that 153,500 mark. And depending on what price wants to do, we might push on a lot further. So GJ for me, because of that momentum, is to the downside, but like I said, get above that trend line, get above that resistance, and I think buys are good. But for now, reacting to what price is giving us right now is looking bearish. I'm expecting more downside for this pair back into this level here around the 151 area. Then if you do break through that support, back down to 149,500 area as well. Nice, William, because again, like on the demo accounts, it doesn't have any relevance to your actual, you know, money. So 100% back in that. Always go to the demo, test things out. Never know, you might learn something that you could use with your real account. What time frames do I trade? Well, my entry time frames are normally 15-minute, hourly, or 4-hour, depending the distance or the pips that I'm trying to catch in the market. Normally 15-minute and hourly I use, sometimes 4-hour. I used to only trade on the 4-hour time frames, but mainly 15-minute and hourly now. But for my analysis, for analyzing, I pretty much use from weekly all the way down to 15. So yeah, my chart work is mainly based on multi-time frame analysis. So I trade using pretty much all charts, but entry time frames is normally 15-minute or hourly. Okay, we'll take a look at that. EURUSD longs. So yeah, EURUSD's come back to that area of support. For me, EURUSD is still overly bearish, but I can see a push to the upside from that area of support there. Because again, we have rejected it so many times. Let me just draw it a little bit better. So yeah, this area of support, the markets keep rejecting and still failing to break through. So yeah, if price does bounce from that, I can see a push to the upside. Obvious place to look for is probably a push into this area here. So if I go in the lower time frames, minute 30. So yeah, it's looking bullish there. Nice shift in momentum there as well, and that's an obvious target there. You know, prior resistance, prior support, and also psychological whole number 1.18. So yeah, that buys is looking good there for EURUSD. A little bit against the momentum, but again, the market is rejecting that support, and if it does keep that up, we should see some upside, and 1.18 is an obvious place. We might even push past that back into that resistance there as well, if we do break through that. So yeah, they're looking like a good buys there as long as we hold on to that support. Again, for me, for Euro USD, I will be looking to sell this pair, but I want to be selling the pair from up here somewhere around there. This resistance, which I did miss yesterday, or that resistance up there, that's probably the areas that I will be looking to sell Euro USD, just because the risk reward is much better, so it makes the trade a lot more worthwhile. And I can, secure partials as price moves to the downside, just in case price does flip bullish again and reverse the upside. But yeah, Euro USD back to very key area support, which we failed to break, a dozen times right now. So it looks like we might be seeing another push if we do hold on to that area. Gold, for this pair, we see another move to the downside. Again, I was bearish, well, I still am bearish for gold, but I wanted to see a bit more retracement yesterday. Again, I was a little bit hesitant to get involved with gold yesterday just because it hasn't retraced to the area that I was looking at. I was looking at this area here on the 1816 area for gold yesterday. So as you can see, resistance, resistance, resistance. Again, a bit of a false break there, but resistance as well, and we also had the confluence of the trend line as well there. So I was looking for price to push its head just a little bit more to the upside. You can see we came quite close, turned bearish, and then continued to the downside back into the same support. So overall, gold, I'm still seeing more downside. I'm expecting price to eventually break through this support and see a push back down to 1784. So yeah, I'm overall still biased, still expecting more downside, but again, I would like to still see a test of that trend line at least for me to get involved. So push higher, get involved with that trend line, or be great if you can get involved with that resistance as well. And then from there, to look for a move to the downside back into that support, then back down to 1784. So like I said, overall still expecting more downside for gold, but it just didn't pull back enough for me yesterday, so I just stayed out the market. But as you can see, it did fall to the downside anyway. It respected this kind of local area of resistance there on the 4H, and price just rejected that and fell to the downside. So overall, bias is still correct and still expecting more of that bias to come through. But yeah, want to see some healthy retracement for me to get involved, and then I'll look to short gold. So hopefully later on this week we can see some upside from this support, and then some downside again later in the week. Okay, next we'll take a look at pound NZD. So pound NZD, this pair, I was expecting to move to the downside for this pair this week, but as you can see, it looks like we're breaking to the upside. We still haven't taken out that 1.98 resistance, but with that momentum, especially with the break of the trend line as well, I'm expecting to see a shift to the upside now. I was expecting to see price break to the downside as we were making those lower lows and lower highs. As you can see, there's a low, lower low, lower low. You did break through the trend line yesterday a little bit briefly, came back in, and now pushing again to the upside. So again, that bias, I think I'm going to scrap that bias because it's kind of invalid now, breaking through that trend line, giving us a higher high. So pound NZD going to stay a little bit neutral, even though we are looking a little bit bullish now. I still do need to see that resistance break for us to push to the upside, but if it does, I think pound NZD is good for buys back up to highs again, and probably some higher highs as well, because it looks like price is just really failing to break through that support of 1.96, and this potential here, this support is our next higher low, and then we could actually see pound NZD really push to the upside and see some new highs up there, because it looks like price action is just building up for a big move either up or down, and so far it looks like it might be to the upside. So I'm expecting this to be potentially our next higher low for pound NZD and see a really nice move to the upside this week, or next week whenever it happens. But of course we still do need to break through that resistance we are currently trading at. So again, I wouldn't say buys are looking good now, but they're looking good for later this week, I reckon. Maybe a scenario of us pushing to the upside, having a bit of a break and retest, so put some distance between us and that resistance, come back down, retest it, come back down, retest the same area, and then push to the upside back into those highs, and then maybe even higher as well. We can probably look to aim for that as well. So yeah, pound NZD does look good for buys, but again, a little bit patient with this one. We're still trading at that resistance there, so I want to see a nice clean break of that area, and then yeah, buys do look very good. Or if you even come back down and retest that trend line, that'll be a good setup as well, I reckon. So yeah, pound NZD, if you do keep up this price action, break through that 1.98 barrier, then yeah, price back to highs does look good, and maybe even hitting that 2 point on the dot as well there. Pound AUD, again, very similar pair to pound NZD. Pound AUD has just been pushing to the upside constantly for this pair. I have been trying to look for selling opportunities for pound NZD, but again, price action has just been so choppy. I've just stayed out of the market, which I'm quite thankful for, because back in the day, I'll probably have had about 5, 6, 7 attempts of trying to short this pair, and yeah, and then I'll be losing, trade after trade after trade, just because it's so choppy. It looks like it's going to turn bearish, but it doesn't, and just continues to push into the upside. So yeah, waiting for that clean price action to present itself to look for their shorts. I still think pound AUD shorts could be good, but because of the way pound NZD is moving, I think pound AUD might just be in just a massive reversal here. So if I go on the weekly time frame, so you look at the scale of things, you can see we've had a massive drop to the downside. I think this could just be a massive reversal, and we could actually be seeing price pushing back into these sort of areas all the way up there, where we did see all that momentum to the downside start from. So I think that could be on the cards now for pound AUD. I still think that'd be good shorts, because this is obviously the weekly time frame. We can still definitely find some good shorts midweek on the daily, whatever, as price does move up. But again, it is just up against the cards a little bit. The momentum is firmly to the upside, and price action is just really choppy. So if anything, I think buys will be good, but if we can find some resistance, I think the market will see a nice drop, and then we'll probably accelerate to the upside. USD CAD sell setting up. Maybe take a look at that, see what's going on with that pair. So we looked at USD CAD earlier, and I said my bias for this one is still to the downside, but it's just a little bit dodgy because price is moving in a little bit of range. I did expect to see that range break to the downside yesterday, but again, as you can see, we did find support, so the market failed to do so. But yeah, I still do see shorts for USD CAD as long as we stay below that resistance, so basically just don't break to the upside. We're back at that area again. We've got a nice bearish candle there so far, but yeah, just looking for a push to the downside for this one. I think Chia is in some shorts for USD CAD, so yeah, I think he's agreeing with that bias as well. But yeah, more downside for USD CAD as long as we stay below that area, back down into that support. Then if you can break for that support, back down into 1.47 1.24700. And again, that is a really strong daily zone. Again, a little bit more of a swing trade for that one, and again, probably just looking to capture a few pips. But yeah, I think USD CAD shorts, again, as long as you hold that, should be good for more downside. Short for USD JPY, which was the current time frame? Was it 4 hour or hourly? Because this is the hourly for USD JPY. And we push down into support. 4 hour, probably looking a little bit bearish there. So yeah, 4 hour. Yeah, I wouldn't short USD JPY, simply because I think it's going up. So yeah, I wouldn't short that. We are looking quite bearish here in the 4H. I'm not gonna deny that we are looking quite bearish because the momentum is coming to the downside there after finding resistance there. So we're coming into that support. We could see a bit of a dip to the downside for USD JPY, something like this, form a higher low and then push back up again. And I just feel that because of the weekly and the daily is looking quite bullish. If I just clear the chart for now and show you guys the weekly time frame. Again, you can see on the weekly for this pair, of course we still could have a move to the downside, but we've had a massive wick to the downside there, and the same candles closed bullish there, giving us that bullish hammer candle. So I do think with price coming, just having a break and retest of this prior resistance here, forming that support and pushing to the upside, I do think we can see a bullish candle this week, or at least another push to the upside. Not necessarily it has to be bullish, but yeah. So I think as long as USD/JPY does hold on to that area, I think we could be seeing some more upside. If we do break through this support, then yeah, I think more downside for this pair, and maybe even a push all the way down to this area. But we have to say, oh, did not mean to do that. But we have to stay above this area here around the 110 mark. So I wouldn't sell USD/JPY simply because we're coming into that area of support. You know, selling into support, price could reject it, even though you do expect price to break through. Again, for risk to reward reasons, drawdown, you know, could probably wait for a bit of retracement, then take it on the lower high on the lower time frame to the downside. But yeah, I just wouldn't sell into that support. But again, like I said, if it does break, then you should be seeing some nice downside movement back into around this area here potentially. So could be in the money if it does break. But if it doesn't break and we do hold that support intact, then I'm seeing more upside for USD/JPY. Back into 111 all the way up there. So USD/JPY is the only JPY pair that I'm actually expecting to see more upside this week. But yeah, I think as long as we hold 110, slightly just above 110, I'm seeing more upside. But if we do break below, then yeah, that'll probably invalidate my bias down the 4 hour, and we might be seeing some more downside first for that pair. So I do agree with shorts, but we do need to take out that support first. On the hourly time frame, it's a little bit it's not looking good because we have that support. I wouldn't short USD/JPY, especially after having that bearish leg to the downside. Price does need to retrace now. We're coming into that support, and after that bearish leg, we can see some upside, and then price might come down. Again, it depends where you're having your stop loss, because you know, it's never really a good idea to short into support, especially when price is looking like that. Again, you're better off waiting for price to pull back up, form a lower high there, and then come down, and that will be a bit more logical place to sell. And also you can have a nice logical place to put your stop loss. But if you're going to short this, your stop loss does need to be above this high here, you know, and that makes the most sense. But again, risk to reward might be a little bit sketchy there, and you could be in a lot of drawdown if price does hold this support as well. So I'll probably wait for price to pull back up and then take it back down. So yeah, I wouldn't advise shorting into that. Of course, we can still break through that area. You know, I can't see into the future. We can definitely break through that support. But yeah, I just wouldn't do that. Hey, how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you are doing well. If there's any pairs you're looking at, any charts, you know, any pairs you're looking at to trade or on your watch list, drop it down in the chat. We'll take a look at it, see what's happening with those pairs together. But yeah, I hope you all had a good weekend and enjoying the week so far. So we're seeing some nice downside there for CHF/JPY. Again, we've come into a really nice area in the market, prior resistance, and as well a trend line as well. So if I just jump onto the daily, you can see there the market is still bearish with this one. A little bit choppy, I do admit, with these pullbacks to the upside, but again, the market is still bearish. We still do have to respect that. You can see a nice bearish trend line there intact on the daily, and if I drop to the 4H, you can see we've got that as well. So again, first test over there, second test, and then this morning we had our third test as well with that resistance there. So definitely a nice shift of momentum to the downside there for CHF JPY, and we are looking quite bearish there. So we are pushing to the downside there quite aggressively, and I do believe we're probably taking out this trend line here as well. So yeah, I can see some more downside for CHF JPY, especially with taking out that trend line, respecting that upper trend line there on the daily. So yeah, I think if this price action does keep up, we could be on some really nice shorts to the downside for CHF JPY. Again, we do have our daily support, again 118 600, 118 500 or so, around that area where we wicked into before. So I think a little bit of retracement on the lower time frames, form a nice lower high, then we could actually take this down all the way down to that support down there. Again, we might find places where the market might reject as we go down, but I think if we just keep this structure of push, pullback, push, pullback, push, pullback, we should see another push back down into these lows. Again, not asking for price to make new lows, but just come down, respect that previous low, and then from there we might see a double bottom, price might reverse, or we could continue and go a lot further. But with that shift of momentum, with the market already being bearish, I think if we do see a formation of a lower high in the lower time frames, hourly, 15-minute, will be some good shorts to the downside there for CHF JPY back into these lows. But we do need to stay below that trend line and below that previous high for that setup to stay valid. If you start finding some strength, pushing to the upside, start taking out this high, taking out that trend line, then yeah, we're probably seeing a move to the opposite direction for this pair. But for now, looking for that lower high and then another drop to the downside, back down into this support down there. And that does look like a really good setup there for CHF JPY. AUD, were you buying or selling AUD? No, I have not looked at EJ yet. I'll look at EJ now. Euro JPY. Okay, so for this pair, again, really nice momentum shift for this pair again, but we've closed at a nice area of support. So if I do zoom out a little bit for you, onto the daily, you can see really nice area of support there. This was kind of a really key area, 129 700, 129 800. Really nice area of support, massive push to the upside. We found support at that area not too long ago. Price was holding at it for a couple of days, broke to the downside, now back above it again. So for me, Euro JPY is a little bit dodgy because of that support. Looking at this from structural point of view, it looks like the market has definitely pushed back up into that prior high and is so far respecting that area. So I think price for me should be pushing to the downside for EJ, and seeing another push back down to the 129 area, but that support does need to break. So I'm expecting a bit of an upside first and then the downside to go and break through it. If we do see some upside and the price takes out this level here, then I'll probably flip my bias to bullish for the short term for Euro JPY, and looking for a push into this resistance up here. Into around the 131 area. As you can see, nice tap into there once, tap into it again, looking for a third tap, but again we do need to take out that resistance. But for now, because of that nice bearish price action we're getting now, price is really rejecting that level. We're coming to support, so we are seeing some upside. So yeah, looking for a push, some lower high formations in the hourly or 15-minute. And then yes, some nice shorts could occur, but yeah, we do need to really take out that support to really see the mileage to the downside, because you can see holding that support, holding that support, holding that support. So recently price has really respected this area, and it definitely could be the barrier that send price to the upside. So do you have to take into account of that? But yeah, for me, I'm expecting more downside, but that support does need to break. Euro USD for us, we looked at Euro USD, and for us, we're just still bearish with that pair. It's coming into support, so we might see some upside. It's definitely not at a good place to look to sell the pair. As you can see now, really key area of support around the 1.17700 mark. Support. So we've tested it a dozen times and prices still rejected that area and still failed to break through it. So it's definitely not a place to buy at, even though the market is still overall bearish. Like I said earlier on, I would like to see a push into kind of this area here and then sell it back down again if we do see some nice rejection from that area, just because this is for me like the major lower high of the market so far. So if you do see a push, treat that kind of like a double top sort of, test it once, test it again, come back down. So that's kind of the setup I'm looking for Euro USD, and also that setup's got the kind of the best risk to reward as well. But like I said, Euro USD is coming to this very strong area of support, so we might see some upside for Euro USD if we can hang on to this and just repeat what we've done, the past 8-9 times of trying to break through this support. So yeah, if Euro USD holds on to that, I'm seeing more upside for this pair. But yeah, I think if we do see some upside, it's only going to be a pullback, and then we'll probably flip bearish. The DXY, which again does play a big impact on what Euro USD wants to do. You can see for the DXY, we've been trending to the upside in this ascending channel here, respecting these lows. So there's our first low, second low, third low, fourth low with that wick, and now we've pushed into that trend line again. So like I said previously, as long as we hold into that trend line, I'm seeing more upside for the DXY, so I am expecting to see another push to the upside back into the highs here, maybe even higher depending if we really do see some momentum come into the DXY. But if that does happen and we do see that momentum to the upside, it should send DXY to the downside, and then I'm expecting to see Euro USD to the downside, and I'm expecting to see a push down to the 1.17 area. But if the DXY does break through that trend line, then we might see some more downside for this pair, and again that could send Euro USD into retracement mode and see some upside into that level there. So I'm keeping an eye on what the DXY is doing and then correlating back with the Euro USD. But yeah, Euro USD key area support, expecting some upside just because we've been rejecting that area for the past week or so, maybe 2 weeks now. So expecting some upside from that support. But then when we do come into nice area of resistance, I think we could be seeing some nice sells. There's a nice selling opportunity this morning, but missed that. Kind of formed overnight, and then the momentum came in this morning, so I did miss that opportunity. But like I said, if you do push back into this level here, I still do see some nice selling opportunities for Euro USD back down into that low there. Any thoughts on GA? Yeah, we'll take a look at GA right now. So yeah, pound AUD for this one, still very bullish. Well, not very bullish. Still a bullish market, but it's choppy. It is choppy. I've been looking for a big push to the downside for pound AUD for the past couple of weeks now, but because price has been so messy, I kind of just stayed on the sidelines and I'm waiting for that clearer opportunity. And so far, it still hasn't come yet. You can see we're still pushing to the upside today, creating higher highs with this nice wick to the upside. So it looks like pound AUD might see some retracement. We do have this area here of prior resistance going to be now turned support. So I think for pound AUD, we might see a push into this low here, but again, I wouldn't expect to see a push further than that just because how price is moving. Don't want to be too aggressive with this bias here. If we do break through this and stay below, then yes, we might see some more downside into this support. But yeah, I'll call that move when we actually do see the break of that of this support here. So DXY, nice rejection to the upside. I'm looking at some brief downside into this area here. Then we might actually see price turn bullish again and see another push back into those highs just because of how price is moving. Very choppy and a little bit difficult to predict the downside. So If I do draw this trend line in here as well, you can see it does meet up quite nicely with that support. So just connecting all these wicks here to the upside, some nice resistance there, turn support. So I'm looking for some downside into that. And if you do hold that, then yeah, back to highs with that move there, back into the 1.87800 area. So yeah, that is probably what I'm expecting for pound AUD. If we do go and break for the trend line and break for that support, then yes, we could see a lot more downside, like I said, back into this support here, but we'll cross that bridge when it does happen. You can see the hourly, nice spike to the upside, so probably a bit of retracement there, maybe back into this zone. Maybe back into this zone here, another spike back into there, and then the drop to the downside. But yeah, only brief shorts for pound AUD, just because how it's moving, brief shorts. And I think you're more your money's better on the long opportunity. So if we do see some nice rejection here, trend line slash support confluence, then yeah, we could be seeing another push to the upside for pound AUD. And it looks like pound NZD as well wants to push to the upside, give us some new highs. So if they both correlate, which they normally do, then yeah, both of them should be pushing to the upside. Pound CHF, we'll take a look at that now. Okay, so yeah, pound CHF, a little bit of consolidation here. Chat between that resistance there and this support. Let's zoom out onto the higher time frames daily. Okay, so daily we're coming to some resistance there. It's a little bit dodgy. Again, pound CHF has been moving quite sharply for the past couple months or so. You can see that on the daily. We're pushing back into that same area there, resistance on the daily now. And on the 4 hour, we've got that consolidation. So it kind of depends what price wants to do. If I go on the hourly time frame, you can see that price has respected that support quite nicely this morning. A nice bullish engulfing candle there. Overall, the market is quite bullish with that big push we've seen, and we're still respecting support here. But yeah, it's just a little bit choppy for me for pound CHF. I can see some temporary buys to the upside back into that resistance. Then if you do break through that resistance, then we probably see a lot more mileage on this one. If I go in the 4H, then we got this area around here, nice area of resistance, which gave us a big drop in price. So yeah, if we can break through that resistance around the 1.26 700 mark, then yeah, I do see price filling in that range to the upside back into that area there. But like I said, it does have a bit of a range to it, so we might just see that push getting filled, come back down again, you know, might mess around, break to the downside or break to the upside. But I reckon the break and retest option might be the best opportunity for this one. But yeah, some temporary shorts back into that resistance does look good there. Okay, so you're buying AUD USD, so let's take a look at that one again. So buying AUD USD, so you're buying AUD USD yesterday. We did see quite a nice push to the upside yesterday for AUD USD. I'm probably assuming that you probably entered too early for this one, hit your stop loss or something like that. Because again, you can see, I believe this price action was from yesterday or slash yesterday evening for me in the UK GMT. We had that nice push to the upside overnight, then we had a nice push back down again. But yeah, I probably assume that you entered too early with those buys in AUD USD. But again, price is still respecting this kind of key area of support around the 0.73500 mark. Really nice support there. Push up once, push up again, and now we're stalling at that area again. And so I'm not expecting to see another massive push up again. Of course, that could still happen, but with that momentum shift, I'm looking for price to form another lower high, then come down again and go test 0.73. But yeah, I'll probably just assume you entered too early there for those buys. I mean, we miss opportunities all the time. I miss opportunities all the time. So it's going to happen, and it's going to happen throughout your trading career. So not much bigger deal. It's not really about the trades that you miss. It's about the trades that you take that, you know, actually have an impact on your journey, really. And you're always going to miss trades, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I can imagine that. Um, you take the trade, stops you out, and then you see the move that you're predicting happen. Yeah, that happens to me, you know, numerous times. It gives it a nice bitter taste in your mouth, but you know, it comes with the job. You know, the market has no feelings towards you. It can just spike you out and then go in your direction, and it doesn't really care. So the best thing to do is just not take it too personally. You know, the market's not out trying to get you personally. But yeah, it does hurt when that happens. And at the end of the day, you know, you just have to manage your risk and not expect anything from your trades. You know, when you click that buy or sell button, you know, don't expect a win or you don't even expect a loss or anything. Just let the market do what it wants to do. But yeah, I do sympathise with you. Yeah, news events have been coming thick and fast recently, past couple of weeks actually. We do have some USD news coming out, and I believe, let me have a look. We do have some USD news coming out in about 2 hours now. Yeah, 2 hours 18 minutes. So again, guys, if you're in any USD pairs, take a look at that. Make sure you manage your risk and everything. Don't want anything crazy happening. But yeah, I do agree. A lot of news announcements have come into the markets and had quite a big impact on volatility and also direction as well. Again, it's just simply manage your risk. For me, I already know that most news events, if I'm ready in a trade, I normally just see if I can get the trade to break even and just let the news do what it wants to do. But yeah, if I'm not in a trade before the news, then I'll probably just sit out and just let price go. But I'm quite neutral with news. It's either it works for me or it works against me. I make sure I do have my stop loss in place. So you know, worst case scenario, I'm stopped out, which is which is fine because you know we lose trades, we win trades. So you know, getting stopped out, hitting TP, you know, works both ways. So worst case scenario, you hits your stop loss. But yeah, I do agree. These news announcements are starting to, you know, give quite big pushes to some of the pairs recently. But yeah, at the end of the day, we don't know. We don't know. You know, USD could go bullish, it could go bearish. You know, it's a 50-50. I mean, sometimes, you know, for the bigger news events, price might be bullish for the first like minute or two of the news announcements, and then flip bearish in the next 2 minutes, and then come bullish again. So it can be quite choppy sometimes, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, yeah, I can sympathize with that because recently I've been quite aggressive with my take profits as well. Maybe putting it too far away when I should have had it a little bit closer. Again, I did have that with USD CHF. not too long ago. I was shorting. Oh, we've had quite a big push to the upside there for USDCHF. I'm still looking at shorts for that pair, but yeah, I want to see a nice shift to the bearish side of things before I go short there. But yeah, I was shorting USDCHF a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that, to the downside here. It was a nice profit, but I was looking for a push to 0.91. My original target was this support, which was hit, and then I tried to push it on to 0.91, simply because we had this strong bearish candle push into the downside. I did take most of my profit already, so it wasn't too much of a, it wasn't too much damage. But yeah, again, if I just closed my trade completely there, I would have made more money than I did. Then when the trade did push quite aggressively against me, so I've been a victim to that recently, and I think it's better off not being too overly confident or expecting too much in the market. Be grateful for the pips that the market does give you, because the same pips it could be giving you, it could be taking those pips away. So it's better to be safe than sorry in these markets, and just be like be a bit more grateful for the pips that it gives you, for me as well, just because it's going in the direction so far, and then it takes a big reverse, and then you realize I could have moved my TP a bit closer, not be so aggressive with it. So that's definitely a learning curve for me there recently. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. If you're trading the range, then that's good. Buy from the support, sell from the resistance, and yeah, definitely news events like that can definitely wick outside of those ranges, hit stop losses before they have those moves. So yeah, okay, if you're trading those setups, it does make sense to get out when the news is there, and trade when it isn't. So yeah, that makes sense there. But for me, I'm more of a swing trader, so sometimes news events can really push the trade in my direction when there is a range, because it can help with a breakout, for instance, or when price is moving against me, it then moves for me sometimes. So for me, news events, I stay in the market. But yeah, if you're trying to do trade the range, then yeah, it's probably best to just play the range when there isn't a big news announcement coming out. There's such a random day on the low time frames. I mean, yeah, it's good it's a random day, because yeah, it's a random day on the low time frames, not on your real account, because I know a lot of people will just get bored or too excited and just want to get in some trades on the low time frames at the minute or something, and they just do it on their real account, and then it takes a hit when it's completely unnecessary. So yeah, there's nothing wrong messing around on the demo account. There's nothing to lose there, and at the end of the day, you gain from that. You actually learn from the experience of what you're doing. So yeah, 100% I recommend going to the demo accounts, trying stuff out, because at the end of the day, you're not putting your money at risk. I know a lot of people will just jump onto their live accounts and mess around there, so it's definitely not what you want to be seeing. But yeah, I'm looking for a push to the downside for USDCHF. I was looking at this zone here, but as you can see, this hourly candle that has just closed at 11 GMT has just broken through that area there. So I'm still looking at downside, because we still do have this daily zone there. If I go on the daily chart, so yeah, if we go on the daily chart, you can see really nice area of resistance here for about 4 or 5 days. Broke to the upside. It was looking like we're going to push to the upside. Got right back underneath it, and then again, the next candle stayed underneath. Next candle stayed underneath, and then we saw yesterday's candle have that momentum to the downside. So as long as we stay below there from a daily perspective, so we don't see this current daily candle close above, I will be looking for shorts. As of now, we're looking quite bullish there in the hourly time frame, so a little bit skeptical. To break through that barrier there, we might be seeing USDCHF push a lot further to the upside. DXY still finding support there, but nice wick to the upside there, so it is rejecting that area there in the 4H. We do have another 40 minutes before that candle closes as well. So overall, DXY is not looking. So as you can see, we have formed a lower high there in the market, this area here. So clear push, pull back, another push to the downside. So you don't want to be seeing a lower high forming like that if we're expecting more upside. Of course we still can, but it's just not a good sign. So like I said, if the DXY does break through this trend line, then yeah, we should be seeing Euro USD starting to push to the upside, Pound USD starting to push to the upside as well. So we'll see what happens with these pairs. Like I did say, Pound USD is still kind of hovering at this trend line here. So you can see nice trend line here connecting these lows, 1, 2, and now we're testing it for a third time, and so far kind of stalling at that area, which is expected. We'll take a look now. AUD CAD, we haven't looked at AUD CAD on the stream yet, so we'll take a look at this pair, see what's going on. Go on the daily chart. So overall, kind of quite bearish, big push to the downside recently. We're stalling a little bit. So as you can see, we've had about 3-4 days worth of price not going anywhere. We do have, so I believe the support you're talking about is this area here. Obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but is it this support you're talking about? So we've tested it once, confirmed it again a second time. So essentially, if we're going to bounce to the upside there, so yes, we could obviously bounce to the upside. The market so far is not filling me with too much confidence. I reckon if we have a nice bullish candle closing above these wicks, then yeah, it does look good for a move to the upside. But overall, we do have this resistance here, which is sending price back down. So we might see another test of this area here. But again, I wouldn't hold on longs for past that area, just because it could actually send us right back down again. So I think temporary longs do look good for AUD CAD back into this area up here, just because we've seen some nice rejection there with that wick. Looks like price is holding on to this resistance here. So as you can see, prior resistance there with that bearish candle, now turned support there. So again, if you do hold on to that area, I'm seeing a push into this 0.92800 mark, and then from there we might turn bearish again and see another leg to the downside. So if that does happen, I think there would actually be some good selling opportunities for another move lower. But yeah, I do agree. I think we can see a bounce from that support for AUD CAD. But I wouldn't suggest the bounce will break through that resistance there just yet. Of course, it could, but I wouldn't call that yet. A bit too aggressive for me, especially with all that bearish momentum coming to the downside. I don't really want to be holding on for longs past that resistance for too long, because we could easily flip bearish. This could just be retracement, then we could easily see another leg lower. So yeah, if we do hold that support intact, which I do in the 4H there, then yeah, buys do look good back up to that resistance, but then we could come back down from there. So yeah, I do agree we could see a bounce to the upside. Yeah, we do see a lot of that. I mean, again, any strategy can work, and it will have its time where it does work. So again, breakouts, for me, not the best strategy, but it will work eventually and time to time, and definitely if you manage your risk well, it could actually be profitable. But yeah, it looks like pairs have had that broken out to the downside and to the upside as well this morning for London. But yeah, I think most pairs are setting themselves for the news coming out later for USD. So I think a lot of pairs move one direction, then flip the other side for the news, or give them that extra kick from the news. So I think that's what's going to be a big factor today. We still do have a couple hours or something like that till the news comes out. How many pips do I go per trade? Well, it depends really. I would say anywhere between 70 to about 150, so quite a big range, but it just depends what time frame I'm entering on. If I'm entering on the 15-minute, then like 70, 80 pips, maybe pushing 100. Or if I'm entering like the hourly or any higher time frames, then yeah, it could be like 150, 160. Because I do like to swing my trades across multiple days, so 3-4 days I could be in a trade for. If I enter the 15-minute, I probably won't be in for 3-4 days, but if I do enter on the hourly, then yeah, looking at around 3-4 days. So yeah, around 150 pips, especially if my stop loss is like 30-40 pips as well. So yeah, around the 150 mark. Yeah, exactly. It's stuff like that that does take you to the next level of trading, because at the end of the day, even though if you have like a textbook valid setup or a valid opportunity, sometimes you just got that feeling, or sometimes with some aspect, it's probably not the best trade to take. It's not the most likely. So you can just jot those trades down or whatever, and just take a look at them later on, and not actually take them, or even take them in the demo account, not in your live account. Because when I was trading, I was trying to take every single opportunity. Even if I looked at the opportunity, I'm like, this doesn't look right, but I'll still take it because it's got this and this. I was just trying to take every opportunity, but what I've come to realize is that less is definitely more, and just focus on the highest trading setups there that you can find. And not every valid opportunity is an opportunity to take. Because at the end of the day, if you take every valid opportunity, might as well just have a robot, because that's what a robot would do. You just take every single opportunity. But then we've got our conscious mind to tell us, yeah, maybe not this opportunity. Yeah, that's just taking the breakout there. Need a little bit more than just the candle that closing at 9 a.m. Yeah, I mean, in trading, anyone can win. Anyone can just close their eyes, click buy or sell, and then they can win that trade. So it's not like too much focus on the singular, the single trade or single day. It's definitely over a longer period of time. Months, weeks, months, years. But yeah, everyone has to win at some point. Everyone does have to win a trade at some point. If just by luck, fluke, whatever. Everyone does have to win a trade at some point. And I think that win that you do get once in a while, especially when you're first coming into the game, and having a tough time, which everyone does. I've definitely gone through that. So yeah, that win that you get once in a while does keep you going because it gives you that hope. I mean, that's good. When you find something that works like that, just stick to it. There's no need to change. Because a lot of people, when they're in your situation, William, they'll try and add stuff to it or take stuff out or try and be cocky with it, and then that ends up messing up, their strategy. So yeah, if you know it works, there's nothing to change there. Obviously, you can filter out some trades or whatnot, but when it works, it works. What percentage do you risk per trade? I risk around 2 to 3%, depending what kind of setup I have. Because some setups I trade work a lot better for me than others, but normally, yeah, 2 to 3% I risk per trade. I will take a look at Euro JPY now. Okay, Euro JPY. Okay, so Euro JPY, like I said, for this one, we're back at very, very strong area of support. Like I did say on the daily for this one, strong support here. As you can see on the 4 hour as well, we got some nice support there twice, third time, fourth time, and again acting as a fifth time. So Euro JPY, I think we'll probably see a little bit of upside for this pair, but again, I wouldn't be looking to buy it. I would be looking to sell this pair. Yeah, I'll be looking to sell this pair. We'll be looking to buy, even though at that support. Probably wait for price to retrace from that lower high and then come back down again. But again, it does have to stay below this area here for me. So if price does push the upside again for Euro JPY back to this area here. Ooh, that did not work out. If price does push up to this area here, then I will be looking to sell it back down again. Back down into that same support where it is right now, and if you break past that, into the around the 129 area. But yeah, this is kind of the area where I'll be focusing for sales. If you do break past that, then I'll be looking for sales around here to take that down. But because the market is still bearish for Euro JPY, I'm not too keen on holding those longs. On looking for longs or holding those longs for too long. So yeah, I'll probably wait for shorts. If I go on the hourly time frame. Hourly time frames looking like I just hold on to that. So like I said, some upside, give me a lower high, come back down again, or come and test this and come back down again. But it looks like Euro USD as well, holding onto that support as well. And again, Euro JPY, Euro USD do move alike. So if they both hold onto that support, I think for both of these pairs, I'm probably looking at some moves to the upside here for both of them. Like I said, break through that resistance there for Euro USD into that there for sells, and then Euro JPY, sort of similar setup, break through that resistance, then into that level there for sells. That's what I was saying, William. When you got that strategy, the daily trades only on your actual account, and then you can mess around with other time frames on different accounts, or demo accounts. Yeah. I mean, I did see that happen recently on for Bitcoin. Where is it now? Yeah, so massive move to the downside happened recently, well, upside actually, recently, and yeah, I don't think this is definitely gonna last. I was looking at price holding at this resistance here to come back down again, but as you can see, it did break through that area. So, um, again, long term, my bias for Bitcoin is still to the upside, but I think it's just too early. You can see if you're looking at this whole market as a whole, we're definitely still very much in retracement mode for this pair. I can see price coming down a lot further, maybe down to the 16,000 or 20,000 area. Retest that, even 12,000 maybe, before we come to the upside for this one. Because you can see we've had a massive reversal to the downside there, and this is the weekly chart. Monthly is even a lot more. So I think we could see some upside, yes, but it's probably going to do that because very textbook sort of very textbook psychology of pushing to the upside, getting people excited, and getting people back into the hype, believing the hype, and then just when everyone's back in the hype, the market takes another dump, and that's exactly what happened here. People still firmly fixed on the hype of Bitcoin, so buying at 60k, trying to hold for long term, and then come to the downside because price just does need to retrace. That's how the market moves. It moves in waves, push, pullback, and I think for now, if I go in the monthly, you can see we're still very much in pullback mode. I can still see more downside for this pair. So yeah, I think we're going to see a push to the upside, probably give us another lower high, maybe around the 44,000 mark, maybe 48,000 if we're lucky, and then yeah, more downside after that for Bitcoin. But like I said, I still do expect to see Bitcoin come back to highs and create some new highs, but I don't think retracement mode is over yet for this pair. My bias on GA. So yeah, GA. This one overall, the market is still very bullish here. Daily bullish, weekly bullish, pretty much everything bullish. A little bit choppy, but like I said, for this one, we do have a nice trend line here in the market for pound AUD. So we've got this trend line here, testing those wicks numerous times. So I think the pair needs some retracement after having that nice spike to the upside there with that wick on the 4H. I'm expecting some downside for the rest of today into this area here. So just textbook prior resistance, now turn support, break and retest, and then we do have the confluence of the trend line there. So if we can hold that area there as well, I'm expecting GA more upside. Like I did say previously, there might be some short-term selling opportunities if that is up your alley. If you want to take this to the downside, there might be that opportunity on the lower time frames. Maybe another spike into that zone there. Then we can see the fall into this zone here on the 1.86800 mark. But like I said, if you can hold that trend line, hold that support, see some nice rejection there, then I do expect to see price come back to highs for pound AUD there. So our bias overall for this one is still to the upside, for pound AUD, but I think we're seeing some temporary sells, temporary short-term retracement, and then more upside after that. So that is what I'm standing on for pound AUD. But if it does break through that trend line and break through that support, then I do see a move back into this area here, because we've broken through two technical factors there, and we might be seeing a bit deeper retracement back into this area here, and then might see some upside after that. So only if that trend line and that support breaks, I could see more downside for pound AUD. But for now, because it's so bullish, don't really want to short it. It's bullish on the weekly, bullish on the daily. Don't really want to go against that for too long. So yeah, some temporary sells into that area, and then probably some more upside after that. Yeah, I know, it is crazy. It's crazy how Elon Musk can just affect the market so much. But again, it just shows that it's all hype, basically. It's all hype. If he says a bad thing, goes down, says a good thing, goes up, and that cycle continues pretty much. I mean, you think that, but I can see in the future Bitcoin becoming something major. Like I can see. I mean, it's definitely not good for banks and governments, because it's not necessarily one identity holds the currency or the crypto, but I definitely can, because if it can push to highs again, then yeah, there's definitely value behind it, even though it can be manipulated so easily. But I think the manipulated aspect of it needs to die down a little bit for it to be something major, though, because definitely can't be having one man saying something and then the whole currency takes a massive dive. um, that definitely can't be sustainable if that is to happen, continue happening. So that's got to sort itself out if it wants to become something major, but I can see that happening in the future. Yeah, sure, no problem there, no problem. Happy to help. And again, guys, I've got about 20 minutes left. Well, 18 minutes left of the live stream before I do look to end it. So if there's any pairs that you guys are looking at, any pairs you guys are going to watch list, or you're looking to trade, let us know. Drop it down in the live chat. We'll take a look at it and see what's going on for those pairs. So just drop it down in the chat and we'll take a look. Yeah, I do agree there, William. It does have potential, because of the price it's got to 60k. You don't do that very easily. So I think it does have potential, but yeah, that manipulation aspect does have to die down a lot, because it can't be sustainable. You can't have all your assets invested into that currency, and then one man can just manipulate that. So yeah, that does have to change in the future, but I think the long-term future, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years from now, we could see Bitcoin maybe doing something quite big. But yeah, I am looking at USD CHF shorts. I'm looking at USD CHF shorts for this pair. I think we're seeing some nice bearish momentum coming back down again. So yeah, we're seeing that on the hourly. Again, nothing too major just yet. If I go on a 15-minute, might be seeing something there. So yeah, we're seeing some downside, but again, not too much there. You can still see the market turn bullish from that. So I'm looking at USD back down to the 0.91350 mark. Really key area of daily support. So we're on the daily chart. You can see we do have this support down here, which is where I'm expecting price to go. You can see nice resistance there, price trying to break through. Nice bullish candle close above. expecting a breakout. However, it was false. Price came right back down below, still respecting that resistance, and then we saw that momentum shift yesterday. So I'm treating this candle, this current bullish candle today, as the retest to see the continuation to the downside. But again, if this candle does push on, close back above this area there, that'll invalidate the whole setup. So that doesn't happen. Hopefully there won't be an opportunity, so I won't get involved. But yeah, looking for shorts for USDCHF back down into those lows there. And this is probably the pair I'll focus on for the rest of the day slash tomorrow, depending if I do get an opportunity or not. And if I do get an opportunity for USDCHF shorts, guys, I will let you guys know and drop it down in my Telegram channel. And if you haven't subscribed to that or checked it out, feel free to do so. A link to that is at the top of the live chat, or down in the description. Take a look at that. I do share updates on potential opportunities, hourly time frame, 4-hourly time frame. Yeah, so that if I do get an opportunity, I will let you guys know. But yeah, this is probably the top of my list for potential opportunities. Also, CAD-JPY is another pair that I'm looking at for nice selling opportunities. CAD-JPY recently gave us a really nice move to the downside with that momentum there, breaking through that trend line, kind of breaking out that consolidation. Hasn't cleared it by so much that it's convincing, but I do think with that momentum there, we can see some more downside. Again, I did say CAD-JPY is coming to a really nice key area on the daily time frame. So as you can see here, really nice resistance there, nice wick, nice resistance there as well, nice support. Now tapped into it again as resistance, so I can see some downside, and if we're lucky, 86 does look good. Nice support there, false break. We could actually come and test it again for a fourth time. So I'm looking at that setup there for CAD-JPY. In terms of risk to reward, it does look really good. We do have kind of this area here of demand there. You can see price stalled a little bit. Nice shift of momentum to the upside. So I will be looking at that as kind of a to take partials or like a like my first target essentially, and then 86 down there will be the overall TP. But depending on how price is moving, I might exit before that because I am asking a little bit much of the market there. But yeah, CAD-JPY does look good. I want to see a bit more retracement for this one. Really come back, test that trend line, give me a nice lower high, and then yeah, I will take that to the downside for CAD-JPY. So again, opportunity on this one, I will share it with you guys as well. But CAD-JPY shorts, USDCHF shorts are the pairs that I'm focusing on for the rest of the day and tomorrow, depending if I do get an opportunity. So yeah, those are the pairs I'm looking at and are on my watch list. Yeah, so USDCHF shorts and CAD-JPY shorts are the pairs on my watch list. I think USDCHF is looking the best so far. CAD-JPY is looking good too, but USDCHF is looking the best so far. But yeah, I want to see a little bit more from this pair. I think we could get an opportunity later today, and CAD-JPY as well. I think GJ is still good as well. GJ is still good. Risk to reward is not as good as CAD-JPY, in my opinion anyway, so that's why I'm focusing on CAD a little bit more. But you can see for GJ there, we've come into the trend line, so first, second, third and fourth test. So pound JPY was on my watch list. Yesterday I was looking for shorts, but I did miss the shorting opportunity. Kind of happened overnight just before I woke up, so I didn't really get an opportunity to short the pair, hence why I'm looking at CAD-JPY now rather than GJ. But yeah, I am expecting to see a dive to the downside for GJ back into this support nice area where we really took off, I think a couple of weeks ago. So that's why I'm expecting price to come to 151, a nice area of support. If we do break through that, then I do think the floodgates will open and we can see a 149,500 back down to this area here where price consolidated and had a big snap to the upside. So GJ, more shorts, more downside for this pair this week, as long as we stay below that trend line and below that resistance. If price starts taking out that level there, then I'm expecting that gap, that range to be filled to that resistance up there around the 153,500 mark. So I can see upside, but it needs to take out those two levels first, the trend line and that resistance. But for now, because that big momentum shift, the fact that we're back underneath the trend line, the fact that we rejected that resistance there, Yeah, I'm expecting more downside, but I will be focusing on CAD instead, just because of the risk reward is a lot better. Again, again, gold was one of the pairs that I was focusing on yesterday, but I did miss the opportunity. Was looking for a bit more of a pullback yesterday, but as you can see, we did not get that. Price came to this area, retested it, and then fell to the downside. So I think if gold is kind enough to give us another push to the upside, again back into this area, that'd be great, or that trend line at least. And I think more downside for gold. Back down. Back down to the 1784 area, maybe even further. But yeah, it's looking like gold is giving us this kind of head and shoulders here. As you can see, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, then we might see a dive to the downside. That's kind of what I'm looking for this pair. But yeah, I wouldn't take shorts coming into that support, so I want to see some upside first. Missed the opportunity yesterday, but I want to see if we can get some upside again, either today, tomorrow, whenever it happens. Just get some upside, because it does feel like we're stalling at that support still. But of course, we still could go and break through it. But it'd be great if we don't. One more rejection to the upside, tap into the trend line, or tap into that resistance around 1816, and then yeah, we'll look to short gold back down again. Yeah, first targets will be that 1797, kind of around 800 mark. 1800 mark, and if you can break through that support, I will look to target 1784. So yeah, gold is on the watch list as well, but a lot needs to happen for me to get interested with this one, because we could still lead to the downside, break to the downside, and go to hit that support there, 1784. And if that does happen, I'll be staying out the market. But if we can get a move to the upside, then yeah, I will have my eyes firmly fixed on gold for some nice selling opportunities to take it back down again. So it's on the watch list, but a lot needs to happen. Whereas USD/CHF and CAD/JPY, we've had the momentum happen, we've seen the price action. Now we just need to wait for a nice valid entry. No, I don't. I don't normally trade all, but I do trade supply and demand here and there. So I don't really focus on it. So I don't necessarily take all my trades from supply and demand areas. I do have it in my arsenal. So I do, understand how it works and do kind of put it into, you know, either areas of TP. Maybe I might look to target around there, or if price can respect that supply and demand, something like that. But I don't really use too much order blocks, really. Normally just keep it as support and resistance, and then sometimes I'll use supply and demand as well. GU, let's take a look at GU just before we finish. Pound USD. So yeah, pound USD on the daily chart, we're still overly bearish here. You can still see we've come into that support, very key level of support. We had this double bottom around the 1.37 area, had a nice false break of that, and we're coming into that same bearish trend line. So, you know, first, second, now I have enough there test. So yeah, from a logical standpoint, GU is a good pair to short. It is coming into a trend line, so you know, if price wants to continue being bullish here, we do have prior resistance there. So as you can see, resistance there now turns support, and we also do have this trend line here as well. So if the market for GE wants to stay bullish, it probably would reject this area and go give us some new highs, you know, past that point there. And at that point, yeah, more upside for GU. But for me, I would say if we can see a break of that, or if we do see a healthy pullback and a nice shift back to the bear, so we see another, you know, aggressive leg to the downside, then yeah, I'll probably say GU looks good for short. So I do agree, GU does look good for shorts, but not yet, not yet. It looks like price kind of making up his mind whether it wants to turn bullish again, or, you know, keep being bearish. So it's coming to an area here where definitely I would not short into, you know, support across here, and we do have that trend line support as well. So I think we can see some upside first, but if you can, you know, come up, form a nice lower high, you know, something like this, push up, maybe back into that trend line, that would be great as well. Form some nice wicks or something, you know, failure to break through, and then I think some nice shorts could happen, something like that. So that's kind of something I will be looking for pound USD. But like I said, if it wants to turn bullish, you know, this is kind of the area where I do expect that to happen, and, you know, just to fly to the upside and break past that trend line again. So yes, I do agree, pound USD does look good for shorts, but I'll probably wait to see something like that for another lower high and then come back down again, because, you know, if it wants to go bullish, I think we're kind of at the place where I would expect, you know, GU to go bullish from. I mean, we would probably do, to be fair. We probably do trade against them.